Hi, Tarot friends! Welcome, Tarot friends! This is Ultraviolet Morgan, and I'm going to try to get my excitement back up to do this. I have tried. This is the 4th time now. So I'm not even going to start over, but I am going to show you this box. I did post the beginning of the 3rd try. So this is the box that it comes in. So you will have that if you want to look back and just see all my frustration. But I am going to start again from the beginning with the cards. So it's beautifully presented with this beautiful, beautiful card with a box with a magnetic closure. And then it even makes this wonderful backdrop for me. So thank you, Kim Crayons. And then you pull out the book, which is like this, and there's a lot in here that I'm really interested in checking out later. Here's just the look of it. There's this diamond. We see this diamond repeated. And then what you see here is the cards are in this box that makes me think of a hat box because they're round cards. And the cards didn't come like wrapped, so that's good. There wasn't more plastic for me to get through. And here is the back, again, this sort of diamond shape. And then here's the inside of the box, the back of the box. Again, you see the diamond repeated. I'm just gonna go, that's good for that. Because I've already been through these cards so many times, I just want to get right into them. So here's the Mother, which is your first archetype. Again, watch the first video because I don't want to repeat myself again, but I do want to take a look at these. But here's the Mother, and then here's the Father. And these are obviously the very first archetypes that we're even aware of as we become incarnated in this world. The Mother and the Father. And they're also represented in the tarot with Empress and Emperor. But especially the Mother is the first person that we ever know. We know her from the inside. And we know her before she's home. She's our first home. Oops, I'm going to flip those. Then we have the Starborn, which is something I've never seen before. And the Starborn, maybe, I'm feeling like maybe is sort of connected to the Fool in a way, because I feel like the Starborn might very well be us. We have the Mother, the Father, and then that which is born of the Mother and the Father. Then we have the Eternal Child, which is just a fabulous card. I am definitely looking forward to working with the archetype of the Eternal Child. Then we have the Orphan, which is an important archetype that we see in all of our myths. The child is orphan. The child, the snake makes me think of very much of Hercules. And not like the Hercules from mythology, but the Hercules from the Disney show, which, comes from mythology, but the snake that bit him and then made him mortal was supposed to kill him, but it just made him mortal. But in my earlier attempts at this, I did say snakes are not evil, snakes are not bad, and if you're afraid of snakes, I think you should work on it. I think you should get therapy if you have, an uncontrollable fear or phobia, and if you just don't like them, if you think they're gross or bad or scary or whatever, then I think you should learn about how they contribute to the ecosystem and how important they are. And they're very important in mythology, and they're very related to the goddess, so, yeah. If you hate snakes, this is your call, this is your wake-up call to change it. Okay, so here's the Mentor, and this card makes me think of the tarot as well. So that makes me think of the Hierophant. I talked about that already. Just gonna be quick-ish for a minute. The Poet. This is so smoky and so mysterious. And this is one that I can actually say different things about when I see it again. And yeah. Okay. I feel like there's even some sort of volcano type of energy there. Yeah, I like that one. The Maiden. Okay, so here's, I think, where I left off on the last video. Maiden, right away, I like that it has a lot of feminine energy happening, and I really like the layers and the colors and the shapes and just all of the feminine energy that I really look forward to working with for that. And then, are these in order? Because this is card 8. Really that far? I guess so. And this is 9. So then we have the Hunter. And this card makes me think of the Death card, which I feel is wrong in some way. But maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll have to see. Then we have the Warrior. And the Warrior I adore. Again, we have the snake. And again, we have a skull. This just could symbolize death on some levels. And also feminine. It's the skull paintings, and you kind of have like the womb shape. Yeah. So it gives me a feminine sort of warrior vibe, and I like that. Here's the Queen, where we have no indication of a queen, other than a woman's hand, probably. And we do have a lotus flower. So this one is sort of enigmatic, and just going to take some searching, I suppose. Then we have the King. So now, if you look at the King and the Queen side by side, you have the round, and this makes me think of a planet. And then this makes, there's kind of eye kind of feeling. But this makes me think of, I want to say, Saturn. Not Saturn, because Saturn has rings. It just feels like a planet to me. And in the King, you have this radiating energy. So you have that more outgoing, that more, they say active, but I want to say projecting sort of energy, masculine energy. And here you have the more circular, round energy, and then of course the snake energy, the kundalini energy, the goddess energy. Then we have the crone, and this one I really love too. I really love, I'm pretty sure that's a crow, because I think ravens are bigger and have a differently shaped beak. So I do think that is a crow. And also he's holding this, I feel like there's some real wisdom. I guess we should say maybe it's a she-crow, because it's a crown, but some wisdom here in this coin that she's holding onto, which is a Star of David, and it's got Hebrew letters inside, so clearly I can't read it, because I never went to Hebrew school, and I haven't done a lot of study of Kabbalah or the Hebrew letters in the alphabet, which are connected to the tarot. But, you know, I will. I'll get there. So then we have the Judge card. This one's interesting, and I talked at length about it in one of my former videos that disappeared into the ether. But we think of judgment a lot of times in real negative terms. There's a hand that's like, come here, and then you have this one that's stop. So that gives me more of a feeling of discernment. And so I think of the judge as someone who is discerning what do they want in their life and what do they not want in their life? What boundaries do they want to set? And I think that when we think of the judge or judgment in terms of discernment, we can sort of take out the negative feeling of the judging, because it's important to discern. When we meet people, we don't have to judge them on a personal level. We don't have to judge them to be scumbags or less than us or lowly or, evil or any of those things. We just have to use our own discernment and judge whether we want to have them come into our life or whether we want to hold them off, and then to what degree, and so on and so forth. And I think that that's healthy when you're using your discernment to judge your own actions in your life. And then sorry. And then it becomes unhealthy when you, beyond that, you don't have to, once you've made that decision, especially if you decided to keep them at links, you don't have to continue to think about them at all. So I think that when it becomes unhealthy is when you start to think you've made the decision, you don't want them in your life, and you continue to let them be in your head and compare yourself to them and make yourself feel better by putting them down in your head, by feeling like you're better than they are. That's when it becomes sort of a negative judgment. And I think that you can decide that that's an energy you don't want in your life without deeply going into, I'm better than you. I can see why people might think otherwise, or I can see why you'd think, if you do think I'm better than you, that you wouldn't want someone in your life. But I don't think that you need to think that in order to keep their energy. It doesn't have to be better than. It can just be not compatible. Okay, so I did take a moment to take a drink, and this is what I'm drinking: Boathouse Farms Berry Boost, and this is not an ad. This is just a drink I like. Whatever. I see people talking about their tea all the time. I like those juice smoothies or whatever they are. I obviously need to drink more. The Shapeshifter. This one is really weird. Okay, there's a tiger, and then there's possibly and then we have an eye that could be a fish or could be a bird or I don't know what. But this I thought was a panda, and then I thought it was a person, and then it sort of reminds me of Michael Myers, which I am certain was not her intention. But I'll bring it in if you can get a kind of look of what you think. And then, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about this Shapeshifter card. Maybe upon working with it, I would have more to say. This one I really like, the Shaman. Here we have like the sort of the cosmos or whatever. So, and there's that diamond again. And there's this hand reaching out. And there's this snake again. And then there are these 3 skulls, which I just adore. And this card, I feel like it's talking sort of about astral projection or out of body, astral travel kind of things. And the snake also makes me think of, when you travel outside of your body, a lot of times you picture a cord, like your umbilical cord, sort of, that can pull you back to your body. And that is what the snake makes me think of in this sort of scenario. And I really like this card. I really like the whole, like, galaxy kind of feeling to it, astral feel. So that's pretty cool. Then we have the Lover, which, as I've pointed out a few times now, that the Lover is different from the Lovers. So, I mean, the archetype of the lover is the individual, and it's not about a pairing. It's about the lover, him or herself, and the archetype of the lover. And the lover in you, the archetype in you, I would imagine. Mostly probably I imagine that from my work with Carolyn Myth's archetypes. You're dealing with the archetypes within yourself. The Siren, this one I absolutely just love. The Siren. I love I'm a Pisces, so I love the Siren myth of like half fish, half woman. That's sort of mermaidy. Of course, everyone wants to be a mermaid these days. Dude, I was a mermaid before it was cool. I was a mermaid when people rolled their eyes at you when you told them you were a mermaid. Now everyone thinks they're a mermaid, and everyone's like, some people roll their eyes, but it's like socially acceptable to say that. But it wasn't when I was saying it, even as a child. It wasn't that socially acceptable. But so I love the mermaid type of or mermaid-esque. And then I also like the Siren as far as the beautiful women who sing or call out to the sailors and lead them to their crashing death on the rocks. Absolutely love the femme fatale archetype, trope, or whatever it is. I'm a big fan of it. What can I say? So, this one is the animal, and then there's this like sort of wolf or German Shepherd looking eye. To me, is what I kind of see. So I feel like this is really deep, intense, and looking forward to working with it. I don't have a lot to say as far as I don't really know what it's saying, but I like its intensity. I like where it's going. I like where you're going with that, man. Here is the Pilgrim, and here is one of the cards that I'm not that crazy about. It's weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I do feel like the colors are really pretty, and I feel like when I'm working with it, that for meditation purposes, that maybe some things could come up that'll be like, it could be an awesome card, but I just don't out the box love it. Now, this one I love right out the box. The Mystic. That is just gorgeous, beautiful, and amazing. And this is a moth. It's not a butterfly, but it is a moth. And yeah. And I have a lot of moth, personal moth connection. So yeah, I really love that. And I love the Mystic. I just love everything about that card. And then there's the Creator, which I also love, of course. So yeah, I am right away looking forward to working with the Creator archetype. Then we have the Destroyer. And this has these wolfy eyes as well. It reminds me of the Neverending Story. I think it's part 2, where there's the nothing is destroying Fantasia. It's like this big black wolfy monstery thing. So that's what this reminds me of, which does seem to fit. Then we have the Sustainer, and I think this one's so important. I feel like it's overlooked. I feel like when I saw this, I was just like, oh yeah, so important. There's a lot always given to the Creator, and then sometimes you think about the Destroyer, but it seems like the Sustainer is not something that gets a lot of attention, and it's super important. I mean, obviously, once you've created something, you have to sustain it, and that just really gets overlooked, and I think that, it's not as glamorous as creating. It's not even as glamorous as destroying. but it's so necessary. And so I'm just glad that that's in there because I feel like it's really important. And it's important to acknowledge like in ourselves. We have the healer, which I really love this healer card. I like the 3-headed snake. And I love the concept of the healer too. I do feel kind of called in the direction of like spiritual healing, I guess, and psychological healing. I have studied psychology in some degree, and both personally and in an academic setting. And I'm interested in shamanistic healing, energy healing, those kinds of things. So I'm looking forward to working with that one as well. I feel like maybe if I just slide these here so you can't really see them, maybe that would be the best. So then we have the comic, which is this silly cat with a hat on, which is really like LOL cats, you know, it's really a modern kind of thought process. And these colors make me think of feathers. That's really all I want to say about that one right now. Here, this one is a favorite, the unseen, which just like hits me in all the feels, the unseen. But then the iconography of it is this pixelated eye, and these numbers up here, it's really makes me think of the dollar bill. So, but the concept of the unseen, that feels so important. Like, I'm definitely looking forward to working with that. Here's the shadow card, and I don't love the shadow card. I can kind of see what they're trying to do with the shadow card, but what I see is an gargoyle pattern, which is not that shadowy to me. So I don't love the shadow card. But then it gets interesting, because then we have the self, and the self is depicted like a shadow. So, what? The colors are amazing. The card itself is really beautiful. Then we have the one, I've said this so many times now, the Neo card, right? N-E-O, Neo, rearrange it, and you've got the one. Neo is the one. It's been a while since I've seen The Matrix. I like it. I mean, who doesn't? I don't know. People don't. Some people think it's sort of overrated or whatever now, but I still like it. I still love it, and I really should see it again. I think the first one was really the best, and stands on its own. Stands very well on its own merit. And then 2 and 3, and the same thing with Back to the Future. It's like number 1 stands on its own, and then 2 and 3 you need the whole I can't think of the word. Not Trinity. That's the girl in the movie. That means 3, but the whole set, It was happening to me earlier where I was reading words, and then I was doing great, and now I can't again. Everyone is yelling the word because they know. Here's the heart. And we see this, it looks like a wreath, and there's like a rowboat in the middle, and it makes me feel like a Hallmark movie, and it makes me think like home is where the heart is. And it makes me feel like soft, Hallmarky movie music. And that's the impression I get of that card. Then we have the cave, which makes me think of the cave story of how we're in a cave and we see shadows on the wall and we think that's reality, but it's just a reflection of reality. And I hope that's kind of not what this cave card means, because I don't know, I'm over that story. Earlier I was like, I'm like, like a valley girl who's all like, the hell cave things, like, so 5 seconds ago. But there are these dark eyes that are like peering out. So, I mean, the cave, it could be good. It could be good. And then we have the mountain, and the mountain card reminds me of the hermit, right? Because here's this person that's up in this mountain. And I spoke with someone today who, we get to talking, and they're from Romania, and so that got me to thinking about the Carpathian Mountains, which was kind of exciting. And so this card today, just today, it feels like a special connection with me, whereas yesterday it really didn't. Although, I mean, I have been to the mountains. I've been to the Rocky Mountains, which are amazing, and I've been to the mountains, I can't remember what they're called, but the mountains in Oklahoma, which are cool, but don't really compare to the Rocky Mountains, because I swear that the Rocky Mountains are like their own planet within a planet. There's so many towns in the Rocky Mountains. There's like bigger towns and tiny towns. There's towns that you can see the whole thing from the road, and it's amazing. Yeah, so the mountain. It's not the mountains, it's the mountain. So when I said that made me think of Walton Mountain. So now we're in the Ozarks. So there's a whole lot of different mountain ranges with their own sort of mythology to them. So this could be a real interesting card now that I really think about it. Then we have the river. And this is all very like reflection-y. And you see this reflection of this dark horse, which took my brain right to the Lord of the Rings, where they're hiding from the Dark Riders, which I feel like probably has nothing at all to do with this card, but since it's first impressions, that's what came right immediately to mind. So we have the river, then we have the ocean, and the ocean has these two great big eyes. So the ocean is really kind of mysterious to me, like, what the heck? Then we have the forest, and I love the colors, and I like this like imagery, this iconography. And this little deal, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it might be a tent. It really honestly looks like a gemstone, sort of. But I thought of a tent because the forest card does make me think of camping, because camping is a thing that's really popular where I live. And I technically live pretty much in the forest. Even though it is a town, but it is basically in the forest. Then we have the desert. So now we have this hand that's either sinking down or reaching up from the desert. I don't know which. But the hand itself reminds me of those hands that you can get, like the model hands that show the lines for palmistry. Just the way that it's holding itself. I don't know. Then we have this. This is interesting. The bridge. And there's water underneath. And then, see, there's a rainbow bridge, and then you see it reflected. So that's really beautiful. But what that made me think of is bridge over troubled water. And then you have these two hands, and the bridge is sort of forming a connection between the two of them. So is it repairing? Is it a bridge over troubled water? Is it repairing a separation? Or is it creating a bridge that between things that were never together? It could be, now you think of the rainbow, you can also think of like the God of the Old Testament and the rainbow, and that sort of being a bridge from the human and the divine, because it's a covenant to not destroy the earth again, because once was enough. So in that respect, you could kind of think of the Sistine Chapel, where you have the hand of God or whatever. I don't know if it's supposed to be the hand of God, but just a bridge, building bridges, building connections, bonds, you know. Hands Across America, if anyone remembers that. This one, the temple, is my boo, okay? This one just sucks me right in and just gives me all the sort of esoteric feels that I want. I mean, it makes me think about wanting to learn more about the Order of the Golden Dawn, maybe like the Knights Templar and all those secret societies, and yeah, just kind of pulls me into that feeling. And that's really what I see when I look at it. Again, you get that dollar bill kind of sense with the Roman numerals and the triangle. And there's praying hands. I didn't even know if it was really meant to be esoteric. Maybe it wasn't even meant that way, but that's just immediately what I felt. So this one is the dead end, and there's this hand, and it almost kind of still looks like an eye. And maybe everything just looks like an eye because these are round cards, but I found this dead end card is really interesting, and also kind of mirrors a card from the Well Unknown Tarot, where we find ourselves like in the thickness, in the darkness of the woods, the dead end. We have the Village. I don't know how I feel about this Village card. To me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Maybe it will when I work with it, but this is like nothing to me now. Then we have this one, the Empty Room, which is really cool to me. And when I first saw it, I thought it reminds me of constellations, and in fact, like this would be like the constellation of the horse or whatever it is. The Empty Room, that feels really spiritual, or really like, yeah, meaningful, more than what it is, if that makes sense. Now we have the Castle, and there's no castle. Like, there's nothing that immediately tells you it's a castle. There's some pearls, I guess, that would give you an idea of a castle, but this one is one of those enigmatic, mysterious ones. Here, this one, the box. I just want to do this. I love this one, okay? I don't know what it's about, but I'm in love. I want to hypnotize myself with this. I want to stare at it for a long time. When you look at it through the computer, through the phone, it's even kind of more intense and cooler and almost like metallic, which it's really not.